Hello everyone out there, and welcome to another exciting edition of Up On Game Presents Conversations with a Legend. I am in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Back home, of course, back in the stomping grounds of PA. If you don't know about Williamsport, it is known for the biggest, the baddest Little League baseball history and tradition that you'd ever hear of and know of, the Little League World Series. I am joined here. I have the pleasure and the honor to be interviewing the CEO, my guy, Stephen Keener. He's with us today. How you doing, Steve?
I'm great, LaVar. Welcome back to Pennsylvania.
Thank you.
We were talking before the show. I said I finally get to meet you, but I watched you play for all those years up at Penn State.
And I appreciate the support.
Throughout your pro career, too. So welcome back. I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you. Beautiful place. See the spectacle, the scene of everything that's going on. A museum, a conference place to meet. I mean, this is literally big league action at the Little League level. So amazing. How did you get involved? How long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been involved a long time. I actually started as a summer intern when I was in college.
Wow.
1980.
Wow.
I was offered a full-time job shortly after that, and I've been here ever since. So I'm going into my 42nd year with the organization, and still love it. These kids playing in this event every year just re-energize me every year when I watch them play. I see the smiles on their faces and the fun they're having, and that's what kind of keeps me young as well.
What's your role like? What is imperative for you to get done as the CEO of the Little League World Series?
Well, you know, Williamsport is the administrative nerve center for Little League International. I mean, we have programs in all 50 states. We have programs in 84 countries.
Right.
So everything is administered out of Williamsport. So my job is really, as the sort of senior executive of the organization, is to oversee a lot of different groups of people who work in marketing and communications and finance and operations and all those things. So my job's more managing people than it is a specific responsibility. But ultimately our big event every year is the Little League Baseball World Series, and we've got a terrific team of people who have been doing it for a number of years, and so I can kind of sit back and let them do their jobs, and if there's a problem or if there's an issue that they need me for, they'll find me. But really managing people is what my job is.
That sounds like a whole lot though, and it sounds like it takes a special person to be able to do that.
Well, look, I strongly believe that very few things ever get done in life by an individual. You've always got to have a team of capable people around you that are willing to share the belief in the mission of what you're doing. And if you can nurture that, then you just execute it. And that's what I try to do. Surround myself with really good people. Very fortunate to have a lot of them. And then they put the operational plans together. We make a few tweaks here and there, but then they execute them and we get it done.
Do I say Steve or Steven?
Steve's fine.
Steve is good. All right.
That's great.
Steve, what has been the highlights for you so far for this year's Little League?
There's been a couple. One, I don't know if you saw this earlier in what we call our regional tournaments. We had a very scary incident at our Southwest region in Waco, Texas, where a young pitcher hit the batter in the head with the ball. A little bit of the backstory on that is those two teams were staying at the same hotel all week.
Okay.
Those kids had become friends.
Oh, wow.
Off the field.
Okay.
So when the pitcher hit him,
they knew each other.
He's hitting his
buddy.
Friend,
right?
And that's what caused him to be so distraught over doing it. And then obviously the young boy who was hit was okay, fortunately, and embraced him and told him it's okay. I'm good. Let's keep playing.
Right.
That kind of. So that moment got a lot of attention. But what really exemplified is kind of how kids play and interact with each other. And that's what I enjoy most about this, is seeing how the kids, particularly when they get to Williamsport, where you've got kids from all over the world.
Yeah.
They don't speak the same languages. They figure out how to communicate. Now they use their iPads or their phones, and they Google Translate to talk with each other.
Right.
We had if you would indulge me for 1 second, we had a young player here from Utah, Easton Oliverson, who unfortunately in the middle of the night somehow fell out of his bunk bed,
I heard
suffered
about that
a pretty
too.
severe
Yes.
head injury. Fortunately, I talked to his dad every day.
And the little brother is still
little brother
playing.
took his place on
Took
the
his place,
on the
right.
team. So that was very scary, very tragic incident. But Easton's doing great. They expect him to have a full recovery, and so we had to kind of manage through all of that.
Right.
But the good news is that Easton is doing well,
That's
and
awesome.
we keep praying for his family.
Indeed.
But the highlights. Yeller's going to have bigger kids than at this age they develop
Differently.
differently.
Right.
So you're going to have bigger kids that can hit the ball farther, throw it a little harder. But I am just amazed at the defensive ability of some of these kids. I mean, even the tiniest kids in the tournament
Playing
are
it
making
at the wall.
Spectacular.
Getting it in the hole.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just enjoy watching kids having fun doing something that they enjoy with the kids from their communities, and then getting a chance to just do it and interact with kids from all over the world. It's great life experience for all of them.
So, obviously, these teams have to have help, sponsorship, support. How important is it for fraternal clubs, veteran groups, small businesses to get involved, local businesses to get involved with this event? I mean, you got to believe that the fabric of all of it is driven by what our economy will allow for it to do, to contribute.
We have 6,500 local Little League programs in communities all over the United States in 84 countries. And the overwhelming majority of them are dependent on local businesses and organizations, whether they're fraternal or civic, whatever they might be, to support them in their community. So the teams that are here at the Little League World Series, they started out playing in their community last February, March, April, May, whenever it is, and they're playing for Bob's Auto Body and Dunkin' Donuts, or whoever the sponsors are. When they get to the level of playing in our regional tournaments and coming to Williamsport, then that's where we step in, and we pay for all of that through our corporate relationships and obviously our television partners at ESPN. So we pay for all of their travel, their accommodations, their meals. We provide them uniforms. We do all the same for the umpires at all of our World Series tournaments. So the point is, we are very much dependent and very appreciative of the support of sponsors at both the national and international level. More importantly, we really appreciate those small businesses in thousands of communities that pay the local sponsorship fees to make the program possible for millions of kids. That's what's when I played Little League, long time ago, I played for Milo's Sub Shop.
Okay. Wow.
So Milo, who owned the sub shop, made a deal with our team that win or lose, we always got a free hoagie after the game.
That's a beautiful thing.
But from a business standpoint, because he did that, Milo's had a great business because everybody in the league went there. People went to Milo's, all this. So he gave a bunch of ragtag kids a free hoagie after every week, which we thought was the greatest thing on earth.
And now you're taking your kids there.
And we're taking our kids there.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's a beautiful thing because that connects the humanistic side of everything that goes on. This is, I have been doing this to champion small businesses. That's why I come around so often, and the people who sponsor Empower Me, we care so much about the fraternal orders, the veteran groups, the small businesses, and I think people lose sight sometimes. They see maybe they see the sponsor on there, but you really don't sometimes, I guess, comprehend or take the time to really understand how important that relationship is between the community and the businesses, and how all of those things work together to really create opportunity.
Sure. Well, I firmly believe that those sponsors that you're talking about, the community organizations, community businesses, what they really believe is in the value of a program like Little League for the kids in their community. So they're willing to invest in it. And if they get some return on that investment, that's probably icing on the cake for them. I don't know that any of them go into it
thinking
with the idea that I better sponsor a Little League team because it's going to drive more people to my insurance agency.
Right.
If that happens, that's a benefit of doing it. But I believe they believe strongly in in the value of a program, whether it's Little League or Pop Warner football or youth basketball, whatever they are, in a program that kids can benefit from, good community suitors, businesses want to keep their community healthy, and I think that's really why they do it.
One company, Mealy Manufacturing, they provide games for the kids for this event, and I always say, for me, experiences, like when I do something like this, it's the experience that matters the most to me. And some of my fondest memories, it's so funny growing up, was the video games, the arcade.
Sure.
Like, I mean, I guess guys are able to kind of do it their own way these days with technology being the way that it is, but there is something to be said about, you know, having the experiences of playing, you know, different games and lounging around. What you mentioned earlier in the interview, just having that opportunity to bond with people from different walks of life, from different places in the country and even in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be pretty cool when you have sponsors step up and actually, it's not just the teams, but they provide, maybe, I don't know, like you said, maybe it's food.
Yeah.
Maybe it's them to have entertainment through games, whether it's, you know, drinks or whatever it may be. But how important and how critical is that to the experience and to the product that you guys are trying to put out there?
I can cite you numerous examples of it right here in Williamsport at the World Series. For example, you mentioned food. Pennsylvania College of Technology, which is headquartered or based here in Williamsport, they have a school of culinary arts. They provide our food service.
Wow.
So students are getting the experience of
Getting their credits, but
providing food for the
That's awesome.
for the
Good
teams.
food, I'm
good
sure.
Food, very good food for the
Right.
teams here. UPMC, you know it well
Sports
from
medicine.
out your old
Absolutely.
hometown area.
Absolutely.
University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. We have an affiliation of UPMC here in the North Central PA. They provide all of the medical services to us free of charge.
That's awesome.
We actually have a UPMC player wellness center built in our area where the kids are housed.
Okay.
So so we get those medical services provided by them. But you mentioned the video games and Mealy Entertainment and those kind of people. I'll tell you a funny story. I don't want to make it too long, but it goes right to what you're talking about. I was walking in the other night, and a team from Texas that's playing here, from Pearland, Texas. They were coming by just as I was parking my car, so I got out and I kind of tagged along with them up to the stadium, and I was walking with one little guy, little player on the end. So I just said to him, I said, "What's been the best part? What's been the most fun about being here?" He said, "Well, playing baseball, of course." And he was pretty talkative. I said, he goes, "But you know what?" He goes, "Playing those video games and ping pong with the kids from Japan was just as much fun." So I said, "Good." And he goes, and I said, "How was the food?" He goes, "Oh man, the food is great." He goes, "Where do you get it?" So I told him where we get it. Right then, now he's 12 years old, right?
Okay.
So a little kid who's probably 7 or 8 years old walked up to him and asked him, "Will you sign my hat?"
Wow.
And this 12-year-old looked at me and goes, "Is that okay if I do that?" I said, "Well, sure it is." I said, he wants your autograph." He goes, "Yeah, I probably ought to do it. He's just a kid." I'm like,
at 12 years
you're
old.
12 years old,
At
and you're
12
calling
years
a
old.
7 or 8 year old
Right,
just a kid. But
There's
it
levels
kind of goes
this.
to what you're talking about.
Right.
The sponsors
And they'll
business-
both remember that forever. They'll both remember that forever.
Yeah.
I can remember the first time I signed to autograph. I was a freshman in high school, and we had won the state title. And somebody asked me for my autograph. I looked around like,
"What are you doing?" Right?
but and it was LaVar Arrington, number 9. It's now L Arrington, and yeah. But I'll tell you what. I wanted to play baseball, so I'm gonna give you a funny story before we finish, before we conclude the interview. But so when I was playing Little League, I'm guilty of this. All right, I slid into first base. I tried to slide because I didn't want to get thrown out.
Okay. They tell you not to do that.
Well, I am probably the poster child that you can use
For why
and
not?
say, "Wow, LaVar ended up being a linebacker at Linebacker U because of this story in particular. This is an exclusive."
All right.
So I hit the ball, and I'm running, and I know I'm fast enough to get there, and I see the arm going back, and I'm trying to speed up, and I wanted to get on the base so bad, so I go, I slide, and It was a girl that was the first baseman. And she caught the ball to swipe because I was sliding.
Oh.
She catches the ball and punched me in my face. So I get punched in the face. My eye immediately starts to swell, like immediately, and I got called out. So I'm not proud of this, Steve, but I walked into the dugout. I turned and looked at my mom with my eyes swelling up. And she said, are you okay? I started crying and I walked out. I said, Mom, I think I'm going to take my chances with a game and a sport where I can put a helmet on and put a face mask on, because I don't like the way my eye feels right now.
Well, you made a good choice.
So it worked out, but I tell you what, that money in baseball is a little bit different than that money in football. They do pretty good.
When you get to that level, it's it's a whole new world.
I tell you what, but I love the game of baseball. As a big Pirates fan, obviously growing up, and a big Washington Nationals fan. I was there with Strasburg. I was there when he got. I got one of the first balls Strasburg warmed up with in his first game with the Nationals, which is pretty cool. One of my daughters ended up playing catch with the dog with that ball. So that comes with having kids. All right, so you talked about the sportsmanship, and you mentioned the backstory of the kid that got hit and consoled it, the pitcher who hit him. What type of impact does that have on the parents? Because you and I know in the sports world, some of the worst moments come from the parents.
Yeah, absolutely.
They are like, it's so amazing how parents can lose themselves.
I agree.
In the emotions and in the, like, maybe the selfishness of wanting your kid to do well, maybe wanting your kid's team to do well. What do you experience in terms of the lessons that these parents actually can learn from these young kids competing?
Well, I think if they watch the kids and pay very close attention to the kids when they're competing, they can learn an awful lot. But I usually have an opportunity to talk to a lot of Little League coaches and parents throughout the course of the year. And in our society today, which I think unfortunately everybody wants sort of instant gratification, and nobody really takes the time to enjoy just the moment. They're always looking to what's next, right? What's next? And I think that in sports particularly, mom and dad at 8, 9, and 10 are more worried about their child, boy or girl, whichever it is. What are they going to play in high school? Are they going to play beyond 8, 9, rather than just enjoying the experience of what they're doing at that time? So what I tell them is, I've talked to more parents and more coaches that 10, 15 years after the Little League experience is over, say to me, I wish I would have had that perspective back then, because winning or losing a Little League baseball or softball game is pretty unimportant. Pretty unimportant. And if parents would just understand that it's more about a learning experience than it is about a competitive experience, even at this level. That's really what it is. It's a learning experience, because most of the kids playing here in the Little League World Series are not going to go on and play. They may play high school baseball, but very few of them will probably play college at a high level, or maybe even professionally. A few of them will, but the most of them are going to go on and do other things. So this should just be an experience that contributes developing them into, instilling in them attributes that you had when you played at Penn State and in the NFL, and understanding that whether you're playing a sport or you're working in a business, you're part of a team, and teams only work when everybody's rowing in the same direction with the same belief and all this, and that's really what this experience. So it's tough to get parents to see that. I think it comes from I think it's a very sincere place of love for their children. They want them to be successful. They don't know how sometimes to express that. They don't. Baseball too is a hard sport, as you found out.
It's hard.
As you found out.
It's hard.
Baseball, a lot of it, is a failure.
Right.
Ted Williams, maybe the greatest hitter of all time, who hit 400 one season, failed 6 out of 10 times. Right. So if Ted Williams can fail 6 out of 10 times, and probably 7 out of 10
everybody
times,
else got to.
Everybody else has got to fail too, and people have to understand that what you do is when you fail, you just get back up and you keep
short
trying.
memory.
Yeah, short memory.
Short memory.
So, yeah, that's what I try to tell parents when I have a chance to. I say, I always tell you, I wish I could put you in a time capsule, fast forward you 15 years from now, and I guarantee you, this is how you're going to feel. You're going to say, why did I get so worked up at that 9-year-old Little League game?
Right.
I want them to understand that.
You brought up a young man who had unfortunate, happening to him and lost the vision in his eye. Can you give me the story on that, because it seemed like that was a story that really resonated with you in terms of the experience for you? Because I say, what's the experience for the kids? What are the experience for the adults, the parents? But that seemed to be an experience that sat with you and kind of impacted you.
It really did. It really did resonate with me. A team here from Nolensville, Tennessee, near Nashville, has a boy on their team named Josiah Porter, who at a very young age had an injury that caused him to lose the sight in I think it's his left eye.
Okay.
And at that time, his mom and dad thought, well, his sports participation.
And if he's a righty, that's the eye to the pitcher.
And this young boy at a very tender age said, I'm not quitting. I'm going to keep playing. So his mom and dad encouraged him to do it. He ends up playing in the Nolensville Little League. He ends up as one of the better players on their team. They're here in the Little League World Series playing. And I'm thinking, here's a kid who thought that his future of athletics was over, or his mom and dad did anyway at that young age. The other night, he hit a grand slam home run in this tournament. And I thought, what a remarkable accomplishment for a kid who's had real diversity in his life, or adversity. Not diversity, but adversity in his life, and has overcome that. And to me, that's what this is all about. Here's a kid who can be held up as a role model for any other family, any other kid who has a child that may have a concern that, if he can do it, why can't they?
Right.
That's just the way I look at it. And those are the stories that I'm sorry that it happened to him. I hate to see any child get hurt.
Right.
But he's overcome it.
And that's the key.
That's the story.
That's the key
story.
to it.
Yep.
Before I let you go, you got any dark horses? You got any teams you're looking at and they're like, that's the team that's going to do it this year? Any bold predictions?
I can't give you a bold prediction. I remain totally neutral, but I will tell you the team from Hawaii is pretty good.
They're pretty good.
Yep. But so are the kids from Curacao.
Okay.
We've seen them do some remarkable things here in the past when that island has had teams here. So they've got a bunch of guys that are playing in the major leagues today out of the league that's here. So Jerkson Profar and Jonathan Scope. I mean, so they can play baseball in Curacao. So I think it's a toss-up today. So we'll see.
I heard Ricky Henderson was here.
He was here yesterday. Yeah, he came in.
How cool is that?
Yeah, our local Chamber of Commerce puts on an event called Williamsport Welcomes the World, and they do a big sort of a block party in the downtown area. And they always try to bring in a Hall of Famer or somebody to sign autographs and take pictures. But then they always bring them over here. We do a game called the Challenger Exhibition.
Come on, man. And I'm glad you said it, because that was going to be my final question. The Challenger game. Amazing.
Yep. Well,
amazing, the story of it.
The Challenger program is a Little League program designed specifically for kids with emotional and physical limitations and special needs. We've had it since probably the late 80s, early 90s, but about 10 years ago we decided it was such an important part of our program that we should always bring 2 Challenger teams to the Little League World Series.
That's so cool.
So that those kids can have a similar experience to what the other kids do.
That's so cool.
So Ricky Henderson, Hall of Famer, great player, right? He was in town Friday night, wanted to stay overnight and come over for the Challenger game yesterday. So he came out and he's presenting the kids with their medals.
Did they know?
They had no idea.
Wow.
Until he was introduced, but he didn't care.
Let me tell you something. To have the picture of it or the video of it, the memory of it, to have that when they're adults, people will always say, man, that was Ricky Henderson that did that with you.
I think the parents of the kids who were here and the coaches, everybody, they fully appreciate it. But he was great. He intermingled with both teams, spent some time with them while they were here, got a lot of pictures taken, signed some autographs, all that stuff. But yeah, it's a great program. It may be the best part of the Little League program because it's a program that gives kids who won't otherwise have that opportunity to the chance to put a uniform on, go out on the field. It's kind of our version of the Special Olympics,
Sure.
if you will.
Sure.
One last story on the challenge.
Come on, let's do
One
it.
of the kids who was here a couple years ago, little boy with Down syndrome, his dad, we keep in touch with him.
Okay.
He sent us an email to tell us this story. After he played here, a year or two later, they were watching the Little League World Series on television. And he said his son was sitting in the living room with his family, and the kids were playing. He pointed at the TV, he says, "Me, that's me." I mean, so he was relating to when he was here, and now those kids are doing what he did. So I just thought it was a great
awesome.
story. Great story.
Steve.
Yeah. Thank you, LaVar.
It's been my pleasure.
Well, I hope this was worth your time coming all the way from
gosh.
LA to talk a little bit about Little League Baseball. I greatly appreciate it. And I'm going to tell my mom and dad, who were season ticket holders for all those years, that I got a chance to sit and chat with you. That'll elevate me in their eyes. So.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. CEO Stephen Keener. You know, man, it's been a pleasure, and I appreciate you hosting us and having us here and giving me some time. I know you're a busy man, and I'll tell you what, couldn't be prouder that my state is the home and the representative of something so great and so profound in young people's lives. So glad I could capture this and get the words and the voice from you to be able to tell this story. So thank you for the time. Appreciate it very much.
My pleasure. My pleasure,
right.
LaVar. Thanks.
Stephen Keener. All right. Keener. Keener. It's Keener. And this is Up On Game Presents Conversations with a Legend. Until next time, I'm LaVar Arrington. We'll see you soon.